So yeah, good morning, good afternoon all. Um, First of all, thank you all for joining this webinar. Really excited to have you all here. Let's kick off this webinar with the introduction. Myself, Gaggan Jit Rana, and I'm a senior solution engineer here at Provar. I have a 9+ years of experience in the field of quality assurance. Throughout this journey, I have worked in both manual and automation testing. I have also worked with many automation and test management solutions like HP ALM, UFT, Selenium, etc. So yeah, very well versed in this space. So this will be our agenda for today's webinar. We will first go through a brief slideshow presentation and then the actual demonstration of Provar Automation. To be very honest with you guys, right, I personally find the slideshow a little boring, but the reason I have it here is that I feel like there's a lot of value in it, and I just wanted to share it with you. So throughout this webinar, please feel free to drop your questions on our Q&A sections. We'll be happy to discuss all those questions right after this webinar and after the demonstration. Yeah, so before going to the Provar Automation, I would like to give you some background of Provar, like who we are and what we do, etc. So Provar was founded in 2014. It's been a decade. We are in this industry now. Provar is the only automation solution that's been engineered from the ground up to test Salesforce. And yes, we are global. We do have offices in UK, US, and India. So that gives us the ability to provide 24/5 support to our customers. These are the three different solutions that Provar provides. That is Provar Manager, Provar Automation, and Provar Grid. So Provar Manager is basically a full lifecycle software test management solution built on Salesforce. It is designed to support individuals and organizations at every stage of their testing evolution. And it is also available on our Salesforce App Exchange. The second one is the Provar Automation, right? Which is our complete end-to-end test automation solution used to test Salesforce and any application that renders on a browser. We will be going to discuss in depth about this in some time. And the third one is the Provar Grid, so which is our cloud-based test execution solution that allows users to execute their test in parallel across multiple test environments, right? So before I move forward with a demonstration of the tool, let's understand what's the problem here, like that we are trying to solve with the help of Provar Automation. So when we talk about Salesforce test automation via an open source framework, we actually face a lot of problems. The list is big, but I have listed down some of them for you in this slide. We all know that that Salesforce do 3 major releases a year, and testing that could have serious impacts because these open source framework don't have Salesforce release compatibility. Meaning, each time the Salesforce make these releases, all the tests that you have built so far are going to break. So you have to be very minimum spend 3 times a year refactoring or doing maintenance of your test cases rather than increasing the test coverage. Aside from these regular changes in Salesforce, the complex and the deep DOM, right, penetrating inside the shadow DOM, navigating through the nested frames, like all those things makes the test automation in Salesforce very hard and complex. So after facing so many issues with open source frameworks, and to overcome these problems, what we do, we go outside in the market and start looking for test automation tools. But in reality, the traditional testing platform don't fit Salesforce because they are built for more static applications, but not for dynamic and ever-changing applications like Salesforce. And because of this, what they do is they build a hardcode test or a digital clone of the screen. And this can be achieved by different ways, like they can achieve it with the help of robotic testing or page scanning or maybe screen recording. But what my point is, like, after doing all these things, the risk here is again the same as of open source framework. Means as soon as the UI or the page changes, the DOM structure will get changed and the test cases will start breaking. right? And frankly speaking, guys, these can be great. I would say really easy upfront, but again, they are not sustainable. And once your test cases starts breaking, this will actually leads you to the biggest challenge, that is the rework spiral. And it's essentially that you are stuck fixing and maintaining your existing test scripts, right? Instead of increasing your test coverage. I know we have talked about this a little bit earlier as well while talking about the open source framework, but this challenge is something that you will face even after using some DOM-based, or I would say screen recording tools, right? So yeah, so a lot of challenges and problems, right? Yeah, need not to worry, guys. Actually, I'm not here to scare you with all these problems. I'm actually here to help you. So discussing about the solution, right? So the solution of all these challenges is Provar Automation. Now the question is again, how and what makes Provar so special that it solves all these challenges? And this is because of our metadata-driven approach. Actually, Provar is built from the ground up to test Salesforce. And because of our metadata-driven approach, the Provar test cases are highly resilient to the Salesforce changes, whether it is because of the Salesforce 3 releases a year or because of some internal deployments. You don't have to worry about all these changes because this is something Provar handles automatically using its metadata-driven approach. In addition to that, the interactive style of creating test cases in Provar, right, makes it very special, and that I'll be showing you in the demo as well. Actually, this style is quite different to the other styles that you might see out in the market. And what it really does, it actually gives the user more control to boost their productivity. So let me give an example over here, right? We have a feature in Provar where actually Provar execute a test step as soon as the user add that test step in the test case. And it also provides the real-time validations as well for that edit step, that whether the edit step is working fine or not. Unlike other tools where you have to first build the entire test case and then just to see whether it's working fine or not, you have to execute it from the very beginning. And if one test step got failed, user have to refactor it and then execute it from the beginning. Whereas in case of Provar, you can do the building of the test case, execution of the test case, and debugging of the test case all at one time. And that actually saves a lot of time and efforts that again you can invest in increasing your test coverage. Another feature that I would like to talk about is how Provar handles APIs. And frankly speaking, this is one of my favorite feature. In Provar, you can simply drag and drop the APIs in your test case, and that will allow you to perform all the basic CRUD operations. And if you want to write some dynamic SOQL queries, it will also allow that feature as well. Now, coming to the last point, that is end-to-end. Provar is a complete end-to-end solution. We are the Salesforce first, but not Salesforce only. Provar is capable enough to test whatever renders on a browser. And yeah, kind of a bigger picture, with core Salesforce application, we can test any web application that available or that renders on a browser. Along with that, we can also do API testing, we can do email testing, database testing, and whatever it is. And what's more important is to string together all this in one test case to test the complete end-to-end journey. And this actually gives you higher quality applications and a better customer, or I would say user experience, right? So all right, so actually that was all from my side from the slideshow presentation. I hope it has provided a lot of value and generated questions as well. So feel free to add all those questions in the Q&A section. We'll address those after the demonstration. So let's jump into the fun stuff. So just to give you a brief about today's demo, I would like to give you a quick introduction about Provar Automation solution, and then we'll be seeing a Salesforce opportunity creation flow just to showcase you the usability and to show you how we actually handles different types of fields or different type of Salesforce field using our metadata-driven approach. In this, I'll be showing you how easily you can create an automated test case the same way a manual tester would do. So let's get started. Actually, Provar Automation is a desktop application that you can simply install in your system based on the OS. So once you install it and add the license key, this is the first screen that you will see. Provar Automation has two components. The first component is the Provar Studio that you can see on my screen right now. And the second component is the Provar Test Builder that I'll be sharing in a minute. Provar Studio is basically used for maintaining your test project and test cases. So most of the things that we'll be doing over here is just one-time activity only. Now, to start with Provar test cases, the first thing that we'll be needing is the connection. Now, these connections are nothing, but it will act as a bridge that connects the Provar application with your target Salesforce org. Now, irrespective of the type of the org it is, like it can be a production org, it can be a sandbox, or even a scratch org, right? Provar will be able to connect to all the types of the org in the same fashion by just providing some basic authentication details like username, password, and the type of the environment that you are connecting with. Apart from that, let's say if you have MFA enabled in your org, need not to worry about because we have auth-based authentications as well. Apart from that, Provar provides a very unique kind of connection that is known as logonize connection, which is basically used to perform all the profile and permission-based testing. Apart from that, you can see there are different overrides over here. So these are the QA and UAT environments that I have, and that leads to another great feature of Provar that is known as environment override. Now, using our Provar metadata-driven approach, a single test case can be executed across different environments, across different profiles, layouts, languages, whatever it may be. So that one test case can accommodate a lot of scenarios very easily for you. Whereas in case of other tools, you might have to write different test cases, right, for handling different layouts, for handling different, I would say, profiles like that. So, but in Provar, just one test case is enough to handle also all those scenarios, given that the flow is same. And now you can think about how much time and efforts, right, you can save just in creating in your test cases or with the help of Provar metadata-driven approach. Now, once we create a Salesforce connection within our Provar, right, the first step, or I would say the very next step that Provar will do, like it will download the entire metadata of your target Salesforce org. And actually this will help us to drive our metadata-driven approach, right? So when I say about metadata, it means like it will download all the objects, all their fields, their relationships, like everything will be get downloaded over here. And as I mentioned earlier, that Provar is a desktop solution. So whatever the metadata or whatever the files that we are downloading, that will remains within your system only. So it is completely secure. Now, to start with test cases or to start building our test cases, what we have to do is to just drag and drop the connection in our test case. Now, once I do that, and add the connection in my test case, I can select the application on which I want to work on directly. Now, again, with the help of metadata, right, Provar will fetch all the applications that you have in your org available, right? So let's say on whichever application that you want to work on, you can just simply select that application from here, click on save and just click on test builder. So once you do that, what it will actually do, it will directly logs you inside the Salesforce org with the desired app on which you want to work on. Now, all the steps like entering the username, password, right, going to the app launcher, searching for that particular app, and then selecting it, right, all those things will be handled automatically, and it will directly land you into the app that you have just selected in your test case. Now, as I clicked on the test builder, you can see these two screens on your window, right? On the left-hand side, you can see a Chrome browser on which our Salesforce demo environment is running. Whereas on the right-hand side, you can see the second component of Provar Automation that is known as the Provar Test Builder. Now, the Provar Test Builder is basically used for authoring of your test cases, but it is also used for the debugging purposes as well. This is where you will spending most of your time on these two windows only. Now let's get started with building our test case. As I said earlier that we'll be creating an opportunity over here. So what I'll do, I'll just click on the opportunity over here manually and try to interact with this new button. Right now, any field that you want to interact with, or I would say any field that you want to have it as a test step in your Provar test case, what you have to do, just right click on that field and add to test case. Now, once you do that, with the help of Provar metadata-driven approach, Test Builder intuitively understand that we are on the Salesforce opportunity home page, and the field that we are interacting with is the new field. Now, Provar has some built intelligence as well. So based on the type of the field that we have interacted, it will show its corresponding interaction type as well. So as of now, we have interacted with the button type of field. That's why it is showing the interaction type as click. But again, if you want to perform any other interactions, like you can just click on this drop down and select the values, whichever you want to go with. Apart from that, Provar gives you an option to take screenshot on each and every steps that you can easily select from these drop-down values. Again, in case of test case failure, because that can happen at any point of time, right? And you cannot have the screenshot step in each and every test step, right? So in case of test case failure, right, what Provar will do, it will actually take a screenshot of the entire screen automatically and grab all the logs, I would say the failure logs, and get it added in the execution report so that you can debug that report after the execution. So what I'll do, I'll just click on the add and do over here. And what you will notice that as soon as I perform an add and do over here, the same step is got added in the test builder. The page got refreshed in the browser. And now it will click on the new button. Now the reason of this refresh is our auto navigation feature. So if you notice, guys, so I haven't performed any interaction on this opportunities tab, right? So another thing that metadata does outside of just making our test cases a lot more resilient to change is, again, it's understand the Salesforce very well. And it knows where the new button is actually exist. So whether it's inside the opportunity object or is it inside some other object. So what I'll do, I'll just re-execute the step, but this time I'll be on the home screen and just try to execute it. So for example, I'll be on the home screen, but in actual you can be on the any screen. So need not to worry, because this auto navigation feature will actually directly navigates you to the right object, and then it will perform the action. Just like this. All right, now let's see how Provar interacts with the different type of fields as well. Now, again, as I mentioned earlier, the only thing that you have to do is just right click on that field and add to test case. Now, once you do that, again, with the help of Provar metadata-driven approach, Provar intuitively understand that this time we are on the Salesforce opportunity new screen, and the field that we are interacting with is an opportunity name. Now, this time, this is a text type of field. That's why we are getting the interaction type as set. And what I'll do, I'll just give us some value over here like test op. Now, this is a static value. And if I want to make it dynamic, what I have to do, I have to just use my hotkeys like control space to open the content assist. Now, this will generate a list of predefined functions that you can use in your test cases to make your test cases very dynamic. Now, what I'll do, I'll just use the unique ID functions, give a length, let's say 4, and click add and do. Now, the reason I have used the unique ID function is because every time when I execute this test case, it will always generate a random value for me, right? So that is basically used to bypass all the Salesforce duplication rules, right? Yes, and that is the only way. And if you have noticed that it has executed the same step in the real time as well. Now, let's try to interact with the other type of field as well, but this time I'll change the approach. Now, if we want to go with the complete manual approach, let's say, means what we used to do in the manual approach, we come over here, we give some values, right, just like this, and click on the save button, right, just like this. So we can do the same thing over here as well, but the only thing, as I mentioned earlier, like that you have to do is go to that field, right click and add to test case. Now, if you notice one thing, whatever the value that you have selected on that field, the same value will get popped up inside the test builder for you. Now, if it satisfies your requirement, you can just simply click on add and do and proceed further. Whereas this is a static value and I want to make it dynamic. To do that, again, what I'll do, I'll just use the control space over here, the hotkey, and use the datetime function. Now over here, what I'll do, I want a date which is 2 days from now, or let's say 3 days from now, and that's all. So this is how easily we can handle calendars as well with the help of Provar Test Builder. Again, the same thing. If I want to interact with this field, right click and add to test case. Whatever the value that I have selected, the same value will get popped out over here. If it's fine, I can just click on add and do. If it's not, I want to change it, I can just change it over here, and the same value will get updated in the test builder as well. And that's all. Now I really want to show you the lookup field, because these fields are very, very specific to the Salesforce, and this is actually performing 3 steps at one time. Like it is first typing the data, then searching it, and then selecting it. In other tools, it may be a 3-step process, right? But in case of Provar, it's just a 1-step process, just like this. No need to worry about the weights, no need to worry about the synchronization issues. Whatever the weights it is, it will be get automatically handled within the Provar itself, right? And as I told you earlier, in test builder, with authoring of your test cases, it is also used for the debugging purposes as well. So as soon as you are adding the test step, what Provar is doing, right? Provar is actually executing the same test steps in the real time and giving you the real time validations as well with these green sun indicators. Now, if the test step that you have added is working fine, right? You can select that it would be the green sun indicator, and if it's not working fine, it would be a red sun indicator, right? So unlike other generic tools where you have to first building the test case and then executing it, right, from the very beginning, just to see if it's working or not, and if it fails, you'll be spending the time in refactoring it and again re-executing it from the very beginning. Whereas in case of Provar, you can do all those things at once and have your productivity already increased by 300%. In addition to this, we have just seen how easily Provar interacted with all the different types of fields and frames as well, right? So anyone, whether you are a manual QA or a developer or even a BA, anyone can write the automated test cases with this user-friendly approach of Provar Test Builder, right? So what I'll do over here as a next step, I'll just try to interact with the save button, right click and add to test case. But this time I'll configure these steps to take one screenshot before clicking the save button and one screenshot after clicking the save button, and add and do. So don't you worry about all these screenshots, because all these screenshots and the logs are automatically getting appending in the execution report that I'll be sharing at the end of the demo. Right now, since we are talking about test automation, right, assertions are really important, right? So let's see how we can perform assertions with the help of Provar Test Builder. Now here, the only thing that we have to do, as I mentioned earlier, let's say we are validating the stage field with the value as prospecting. What I'll be doing, I'll be just right click on that and add to test case. So what it will do, it will again, with the help of metadata, it will fetch all the information. And this time we are dealing with an SF Flexi component, right? So whether you are working on a normal Salesforce layout or you're working on a Flexi component, maybe Aura, maybe Visualforce, you don't have to worry about any of this, because as soon as you map any field or as soon as you interact with any field, whatever the component it is, it will be automatically I would say fetched by Provar Metadata-driven approach. Now, to perform assertions, I can really easily do by just selecting this checkbox, right? And it's not about the value only. So let's say if I want to assert the labels, or I want to assert some messages, field level messages, or I want to assert some different attributes, like whether the control is visible or not, or whether it is enabled or not, right? So we can do all these kind of assertions really easy by just selecting these radio buttons and checkboxes. And trust me, guys, these kind of assertions are really, really beneficial when we perform profile and permission-based testing. For example, let's say for profile A, this field should be visible, and for profile B, this field should not be visible. So all those kind of assertions we can easily perform with the help of the selection of this radio button and checkboxes, right? So what I'll do, I'll just select this value over here and click add and do. So as I told that Provar test builder is also used for debugging purposes as well, right? So if the assertion got successful, then we will get a green sun indicator. And if the assertion is not successful, then we will get a red sun indicator. All right. So this is how we actually perform or build test casing using UI. Now let's see how we do it via the API as well. And trust me, guys, I have never seen such an easy approach of interacting with the APIs just like Provar do, right? So to do that, actually, the only thing that you have to do, you have to just search for that object on which you want to work on, right? So since we are working on opportunity over here, so what I'll do, I'll just search for opportunity. We'll click over here and I'll click on that. So once I click on that, the next thing that I have to do is just drag and drop in my test case. Now, as soon as I perform this drag and drop operation, now this will allow me to perform all the basic CRUD operations like create, update, delete. It will also allows me to perform assertions, or if I want to write some dynamic SQL queries, I can definitely do that, right? Now, since we are creating an opportunity over here, so what I'll be doing, I'll be just selecting and create step. Now, again, with the help of the metadata that you can see, it will fetch all the fields of that object. So whether they are standard fields or the custom fields, not an issue. Apart from that, if the field is mandatory, it will already will come as yes. But again, if you want to add more fields, you can just simply check these checkboxes like this. As of now, I'll just go with the mandatory fields and click on OK. Now, just like we have done from the UI portion, just we'll give some data over here. Again, I'll use the containers to give some dummy data, right? And something like this, I would say. And that's all. Now, let me execute this step for you. Now, if I'll go back to the test builder, right click on that step and step 2, and just execute it. Boom. So within just a couple of seconds, it has actually created a record, an opportunity record for us. And that is the main usage of APIs in your test cases. Now, wherever you feel like, okay, your test case is actually taking some time and you want to reduce the execution time, right? You can use the APIs in your test cases. Or you want to create a large amount of data in your test cases as a prerequisite, right? There also you can use the APIs in your test cases. And why I'm saying is actually the same thing has happened with me as well. Let me tell you the story. Like I was working with a client in the past, right? And they have a test case that was actually taking more than an hour to execute. It was a pretty big test case actually, and I would say really important for them as well. So what I have done, I have actually refactored the test case with the use of API calls, right? And trust me, I was able to reduce the execution time down to just 20 minutes. And actually, that's the power of using APIs in the test cases. And that is the reason we always, I would say, suggest that to use API testing as much as you can in your test cases, right? So this was about how we actually perform the API testing or the UI and API testing with in Salesforce. Now to see the execution report, right, what you can do, you can just simply click on this icon, right? And Provar provides you the execution report in 2 different formats, like one is PDF, the another one is CSV. Apart from that, there are a lot of, I would say, options that you can go with, like summary timings, screenshots, different logging details. For example, you want to share the report with your leadership, right? You can share with them without the logs, just the failure and the just the pass and the fail rate. Whereas being a developer or a QA, you want to see the logs as well to debug it, right? So you can go with the show basic options and click on finish. So once I click on the finish, it will generate a report for me in this format, right? Now it will have all the necessary information that we should have in our test cases, in our execution report, I would say, right? So like when the test got started, when it got ended, right? How many test cases were there, how many got passed, got failed, a nice and clean pie chart, and the logs of each and every test case. just like this. I would like to scroll it down to the screenshot section, right? Now this is the screenshot section. So this was the screenshot before clicking the save button, and this is the screenshot after clicking the save button. And this is a similar kind of screenshot you will get in case the test step got failed, but you will get an additional logs like the failure logs, means why it got failed. So let's say you're executing your test case and you found a bug with the help of Provar, right? And after the execution, you have generated the report. Now in that report, you will be having the screenshot of that bug. You will be having the logs of the bug, right? Whatever you need to fix it, right? So as a next step, what you will be doing, you'll be sharing that report with your, I would say, with your dev team, right, to get that fixed. But the question here is, how will you share it, right? Again, manual is always an approach, but here we are not talking about manual, we are talking about automation. So again, actually Provar has cracked down that area as well, right? So let's say you are executing your test cases, right? And if something got failed, right, and you want to share that report with your dev team, right, these reports can be emailed automatically after the executions via emails, or if you want to share it via some Slack channels, team channels, like anything, right? It can be integrated with that portion as well. So that was all from my side in this demonstration of Provar Automation. So I would like to thank you all for joining me today and taking the time out to explore the exciting possibilities that Provar Automation brings to the table. We have seen how automation, when done right, can drive the efficiency and reduce risk and actually improve the overall quality of our testing efforts, right? But more importantly, it allows us to focus on what truly matters, like delivering exceptional experiences and value to our customers. With Provar and with its Salesforce-centric capabilities, offers a future-ready solution, streamlining the testing process without compromising on quality or coverage. So as you go back to your teams and projects, right, I would personally encourage you to think about how Provar Automation can transform your testing strategy, right? Not just as a tool, but as a partner in a journey towards delivering continuous excellence. So thank you all for your attention and participation. So with that being said, let's actually jump on our Q&A section. So here I can see one question that can Provar handle MFA if it's enabled on the Salesforce org? So the answer is yes. Provar can handle MFA via auth connections, and there are different strategies as well using which we can definitely use or we can definitely handle the MFAs via Provar. The second question is, can we have the UI and API test steps within just one test case? The answer is yes, actually, right? Because Provar is a complete end-to-end solution. So whether you have like I would say whether you have API test steps whether you have API test steps or the database test steps, I would say, or you have like UI test steps. So all those test steps, right, can be integrated or can be stringed inside just one test case just to fulfill your complete end-to-end scenarios. Actually, there's a demo request. One more. Could you please demo one more API test and how we assert things via API? So actually, we do means whenever I drag and drop anything into my test case via from the metadata section, right, it will actually allows to perform the assertions as well. So there we have an option using which you can easily perform the assertions by just providing all the values. It also allows different comparison operators as well. So let's say equals, starts with, ends with, like, so there are different comparison operators as well that you can use in your test case to make your test case more robust. The next question is, what is the difference between Selenium WebDriver and Provar? And that's a really good question. Again, as I mentioned earlier in my in my demonstration in the slideshow presentation, like when we talk about open source framework, there are a lot of limitations while doing Salesforce testing with the help of Selenium WebDriver. Whereas because that works on the DOM of that particular page, right? So if an element is present in the DOM, right, it will perform the action. But as soon as the DOM or the web pages got changed, right, to be specific in kind of Salesforce, as soon as the Salesforce releases its new version, right, the DOM got changed. And again, whatever test cases that you have built using Selenium or any open source framework, right, it will got failed, right? It will start failing. And that is the reason we have a different approach that is known as the metadata-driven approach. So we are not reliant on the DOM. We actually works on the metadata, and that's actually future-proof your test cases with all those changes coming from the Salesforce side or from the internal deployment side. Is CG Cloud Solutions testing support available? So I'm not sure about CG Cloud. What does it stand for? So if you can just type it one more time, I would be really happy to answer that question as well. What is the use of Provar? Is Provar automates browsers? Yes, Provar automates browser. Definitely. It means we perform all our testing within the browser itself. Means, as I mentioned, it's not Provar is Salesforce first, not Salesforce only, right? So whatever the web page or means any page that renders on a browser or any website that you want to test, right, we can definitely do that with the help of Provar. So how can we distinguish between execution failures and validation failures? Test case couldn't run. How can we distinguish between execution failures, test case couldn't run, and validation failures, test case ran, but the result is not expected, right? So again, there's a similar approach of doing that. Means for execution failures, means whenever there's a failure, means as I mentioned, whenever there's a failure, right, there you will get the complete logs of that failures in your execution report, right? Now if that's a failure not because of your test case, maybe because of internet connectivity or maybe something else, right? So whatever the kind of failure it is, right, whether it's a validation failure like or an execution failure, right, it will be available with all the logs within your report only, within your execution report only, right? So you can actually generate that report with the complete logs. You can go through that report and you can easily distinguish like by reading that logs, okay, this is because of some execution failures or it is because of just the validation failure. All right. Any other questions? I think I have answered all the questions. Yeah, thank you all for joining your today's webinar. It's really nice meeting you all. Bye-bye.